Management Committee and the college for hosting an event. Welcome back after 2 years. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Hemant Gupta. I am one of the co-founders of the electric mobility startup called Hulu. I guess some of you might have experienced the product. And I have been heading the operations in the section of the company. And before that, I had spent around 12 years in the professional domain, largely in the international logistics and supply chain. So operation has been a bit of my forte, I would say. Now coming to the topic, I think it's a very relevant topic. As a matter of coincidence, only last week I received an invite from Ahmedabad talking that, hey, we are launching this course about how to apply Bhagavad Gita in your day-to-day management practices, something what my co-panelist Saurav also mentioned. And then I also received a call from them and they were like, this is actually, we planned a program like this once a year, but given the high demand of this thing, we are actually doing it the second time within the same year. So this is a very, very relevant topic. And I think you guys are lucky to understand the gravity of the wisdom and knowledge which is still to be explored sufficiently in our scriptures and in our culture in your formative years. It's easy to learn, but it's more difficult to unlearn. But already during your formative years, when you can pick up the right things, the right values, I think it goes a long way. And although I'll leave it up to Tanvi to conduct it, but just one last thing I want to say. As youngsters, you are privileged to be born in this generation where it's normal to see the CEOs of global companies like the Googles and the Microsofts and not necessarily only the tech companies, but so many other financial companies, manufacturing companies. Last week, the CEO of FedEx, which is one of the largest logistics companies in the world, that was announced to be a person of Indian origin. So there is definitely a correlation between being Indian and being successful. I think I'll leave it to the panel to discuss that further. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it makes a lot of sense. Gita has been mentioned so many times. I think everybody's heard of the book. It's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, also based on the Gita, and has been given credit in the forward as well. Anyway, I want to move on to Mr. Katyal. Just like, if you'd like to introduce yourself to our young guns here. A little bit about yourself, and our topic today is culture, mythology, scriptures and innovation.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning, namaskar. So I am Tarun. I again represent a company which sells products, but unlike others, we sell promise. So we are in the health insurance space. I am sure in the current scenario, much more awareness on health and wellness. We also have had an opportunity to make our team much more sensitive to this subject of giving, So the subject of health and wellness is, in today's world has assumed the highest significance. That's the space we are in. And when I say we sell promises, we actually live for providing the best experience when it comes to moment of truth. So we are Niva Upa Health Insurance, erstwhile Max Upa Health Insurance. I take care of people function there, and I also have my team members represented here with Mohit and his team. So many thanks for giving us an opportunity to be amongst young team members, young people like you. And after a long time, we have started participating, and too much of virtual interactions are happening over a period of time. It was not that we are not interacting, but it was becoming too much of virtual. So extremely glad to be in person available here. Now coming back to the subject, I think it's very interesting subject. Only one example I would like to put across, and then have this panel discussion on. We can share more thoughts here. So most of the times, especially in today's world, we live in a world of science and maths, where we are made to believe that there is only one right way of doing things. Yeah. But if we read our scriptures, if we go back to mythology or historical stories, etc., which we read from our culture, it's not always one way of doing things. It's more like so life is cyclical. So even in our Hinduism calendar, it's not that the year which goes back, it doesn't come back again, comes back after 60 years. So life is cyclical, which means you always ups and downs. But how do you, as an entrepreneur or as how do you look ahead and how do you adjust and adapt yourself to the changes which will come across in all those times? And second most important thing which relates to our scriptures is about relationships first and tasks second. So meaning that whenever we try to take up something as a professional, as an entrepreneur, yes, tasks are very important, but it's always about keeping the relationships first. In the end, that is what. So one of the examples which we can pick up on this subject is from the era of Mughals, when Aurangzeb was there. So he used to have probably the largest empire ever built. Yeah. So as soon as he was not there, the empire shrank to part of Delhi only. So he was a very competent leader, but it was the way of working was my way or highway. So he did not build the alliances, and there were no relationships. So everything broke down after he was not there. So these are some lessons which I think we can put it across in our discussion today, and happy to hear from other panel members on this subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I think the first question that I really want to throw to the panel, how many of you here want to get into entrepreneurship? A few hands. देखो ऐसा है कि अगर entrepreneur बनना है ना तो हाथ यहाँ नहीं हो सकता, या तो यहाँ है और या तो नीचे है. You cannot be halfway about it. There are some entrepreneurs sitting here. Well, Hemant is right here. What is the one, let's say, skill or something, attitude, whatever I would call it, that you need to make it as an entrepreneur, and something that you hold on to because that was part of your culture growing up and it's helped you become an entrepreneur?
So first of all, compliments to the nation that we see a sudden wave that seems to be becoming a tsunami, that people want to become entrepreneurs. It's a very good signal for the future of any society and the nation. Coming to the questions Tanvi asked, so see, a lot of ingredients are needed to become successful. Either you want to be a successful sportsman or a successful professional, and for that matter also an entrepreneur. And the composition of those elements also keeps on evolving with time. When you are trying to think of a new startup, what you need at that stage is a different set of skills and how you spend your time. Once you start it, you need a different set of skills, and it keeps on evolving. But if I have to do the difficult job of picking one, then I would call it passion. And I remember in one of my interviews, this interviewee, she asked me that, "Oh, sir, aap mein kya hai that so many startups in the mobility domain were not able to make it through the COVID time, which was a very difficult time for so many private entities in particular, especially for mobility, because nobody was coming out. How would you generate revenue? How would you pay salaries? How would you execute on your amazing business plans, So, I don't know, I said this thing, like a pagalpan. And I was so, emotional about saying that. That was 11 in the night where I was having the interview, but I actually meant it. Because so many challenges will come your way, and if you really, really want to go on the other side, is that passion, that pagalpan, that will take you through all that madness.
I think it's been spoken about a lot in sports as well. कि बिना passion और पागलपन के तो 83 भी नहीं बनती. You know, you can't have. If you look at maybe the Australian team winning, they came, they saw, they conquered, and they won, and they kept winning. There's no movie there. The movie is made when there are challenges, but I think passion in sports is also intrinsically linked.
Sports is totally driven by the passion only, because spending 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a day on the rigorous training without missing a single day cannot be done without a passion. And similar passion is also required for being a good entrepreneur or a businessman, because you have to put your 100%, otherwise it's very difficult to achieve what you want to achieve.
No, I agree. There's a story, a quick story that I'll share. It's about this young black woman who was born in southern part of America, where there was still a lot of discrimination. And she was born, she was fine, but as she grew to the age of 5 or 6, she contracted polio and lost her ability to, walk. And the doctor said she'll never walk again. Like, she will never walk. But her mother had this strange belief. When you were talking about culture and our, what we grow up with and how it's relevant today. Her mother kept telling her, when you get better. Not if you get better, when you get better. And she would massage her legs and this, that and the other. Eventually she got into these leg braces. And she started walking, and the doctor said that, listen, she's walking, but please don't expect anything more. This is a miracle, be grateful, and nothing more will happen. And her mother kept saying, when you get rid of the braces and when you're walking without braces. That girl went on to get rid of her braces. She started running. She outran everybody in her country, in her state. She went on to win an Olympic gold medal. And all was just the power of the belief of a mother against all odds. And it was only madness and passion. Maybe did not come from the child first, maybe came from the mother, but I think any story of success, any sports or otherwise, probably boils down to passion. Yeah? But I'm sure when you crack the IPS, is it, Mr. Singh, is it passion, is it madness, is it time management? What was it that you grew up with, or what was the ghar ka mahal that enabled you to, the culture that allowed you to crack the exams and become the head of the enforcement directorate?
Hello. See, neither it was home atmosphere, because I belong to the farmer's family, nor my passion to joining the government service. I detest joining the government service when I was doing my engineering. I did my M.Tech from IIT Kanpur after Delhi College of Engineering doing graduation. And I fell ill. It was almost 2 years I was in hospital. During that period and afterwards, during that period I was reading all these religious books. 2 years was good enough time. I was not getting a job. After recovering, I applied for the job. At that time I applied for civil services. So I would say it was not my passion. My passion was going to the teaching side. I had taken admission in PhD also. But I have no regret, in the sense that I could do a lot of things in my career. I had a passion for helping people. I have passion for being truthful and doing right. And that helps, because in that way you can help a large number of people. My passion was to introduce technology in the police. That helped. Like I'll tell you, in 1989, there was a recruitment of constables in Delhi police. I found lot of hanky-panky, and I reported to number 2 in Delhi Police, Mr. Arun Bhagat. He said, next exam you conduct. So I made the total system transparent because of my technological knowledge in computer science. And it was to this extent that not even a single candidate could be taken by any manipulation. There was a lot of criticism of mine. I was a young officer at that time. But it helped. Even today, that system is working after so many years, almost 31 years. And there is no allegations in that system. So you can contribute a lot in the civil services or wherever you go. It is not what are you doing? For example, innovation. So first thing is the idea in life. What social cause you can serve with your idea. Only that idea will be successful as an innovation. Second is, Mr. Hemant has already told, the passion. Without passion, nothing is there in life. And third thing is discipline in life. That you should have discipline of achieving. I'll give you example from Mahabharata. You think of Krishna. His 6 siblings were killed at the time of birth. His father and mother were kept in the prison. There were attempts to kill him. He has ambition of life to take action against all those people who are wicked. And he formed an organization. In Vrindavan he formed an organization. Unfortunately today we say Krishna loved Radha. Radha was that organization, name of that organization. This Radha in the form of women comes only in 15th century. Not before that. If you read the scriptures before that, it is not there. So it was an organization, a secret organization which he loved. And then he fought against Kans. He defeated him. But what happened thereafter? Kans' daughter's husband was Jarasandha, king of Magad. He attacked him. He attacked Mathura. Mathura's army was destroyed. He was planning to attack him. Now, again, the problem to Krishna that large number of civilians they have to be saved. He shifted from Mathura to Dwarka in Gujarat. He faced it, but he fought back. And he got Jarasandha killed from him. He got all the wicked kings got killed either himself or through others. That was his passion of life. To make the world a place to live in, where if you are good, you will survive. If you are wicked, you will not survive. So you should have a passion. Take lessons from them. Passion is very, very important in life. And if you do that, you will always success. Success, nobody can stop you. If you are right, if you have passion, if you want to help others, the God is with you always. Thank you.
I have a question from the panel, and anyone's free to answer. But in this environment of entrepreneurship, and everyone wants to become, have a startup and get their valuation and the big zeros and the big numbers, what would you say, for someone who's, all of you have worked in organizations, before, some of you are still working, I've worked for 20 years. Is our jobs or being successful in a job or in a work environment being dismissed as less than? I mean, is there innovation to be done in a job? Is there passion to be had in a job? And maybe Saurabh and Mr. Tarun can shed their light on it.
Tanvi, very right question, and I believe having a passion, again I will say a dream. If you all correlate this phrase with what Dr. Kalam said, dream वो होता है जो आपको सोने नहीं देता है. Okay, so I'll not say that everybody will be successful, only they will set up their own XYZ private limited or LLC. Even by staying in your present organization, you start doing that challenging job. No organization stops you innovating. I'm telling you very clearly, no organization, being even a private job ho, yeah, even government also. When Sir told Kadasari, they brought a new reform in the Delhi police, then that means nobody stopped him. So there are two set of people in life, तन्मय, जो कि विलिंग होते हैं काम करने के लिए, और दूसरे लोग वो होते हैं जो दूसरों को काम करने के लिए विलिंग होते हैं. So everywhere you will get this success, that if you are willing, you can set up your own institution in a bigger institution. Take learning from there. From there you can start your own. Nobody knows it.
Very interesting question actually, and I'm prompted to talk something about Dr. Kalam. So I have had privilege of working in an organization where he used to come regularly as a chief guest. He was working. I worked in central government organization, which is Department of Atomic Energy. So one of the experiences he shared, maybe it is of some relevance here. So he was supposed to address a group of employees, including families. And having heard him in conference room, etc. So I was very curious that here is a man who's a scientist who talks a lot of science, lot of technical things. How will he converse with people, which is a set of young children, semi-educated kind of family members, workers, etc. So what will he talk? So he threw one example. He said, recently I posted a question on the net, and the eligibility criteria was only 12 years and below could participate. And the question was, how do you see India as a developed country? So this was a question thrown to young generation of people. And it was open across the world, any Indian or NRI could answer. So he said, I got thousands of responses, and he read out some of them. And he said the best response I got was from a girl who was originally from Kashmir but was in US. And the response said, I will consider my country to be developed when India is able to impose sanctions on US. And that was when this Pokhran blast, etc. had happened, and there was some sanctions imposed. So that was playing on people's minds. So that he said this was the best response. And then he said, he also said I came from a family which, it was a farmers or a fisherman kind of background, etc. So he said I also studied in Madras Institute of Technology. Then I was looking for a job. And he said, I found an advertisement which said rocket engineer. It was in employment news somewhere. It was at those days, this is all employment. So he said, I applied for the job. I was passionate about doing something on these lines, but I had no idea actually that what is this about. He said, I appeared in an interview. The panel consisted of prominent people like Homi Bhabha, Indira Gandhi, and I think he mentioned Morarji Desai, who used to be part of civil services at that time. So he said I was scared of the panel I was facing. And he made one more point there. He said I was very happy. Normally, interview is all about testing the knowledge of the other side. But this interview was more about asking what do you know about this subject, and it was an open discussion. So the point he made was that, even when he says, when I talk about that girl, so she's able to think something which is big in her mind, and once you start thinking, you manifest and you move in that direction. So similarly, he said, when I started liking this word rocket, and this is something which is related to my passion, and I applied for a job, ultimately I got a job, and then I started, doing this in a world where literally nothing was there on this subject actually in India. So coming back to the point of passion and inspiration, and one more point he mentioned there was very interesting. He said, most of the times we think that we have to change the world to make things happen. But largely it is about your inner self. How do you change yourself? So that's where the movement begins. And he always used to quote an example of our scripture saying that if you read any of our epics, so most of the epics you will find are religious gurus or gods going to one path for one reason or the other, and then they used that time to reinvent themselves, whether it was about Rama or even Pandavas. So reinvent yourself. And similar opportunity I think happened when this COVID thing happened. Most of the people were sitting at home. So many of them tried, thinking and doing, manifesting and doing something which they wanted to do or rebuilding their self. So
No, I totally agree that during the pandemic, a new word got popularized called pivot. So the reinventing became pivot, find a pivot. And I only remember making pivot tables on Excel at some point, but it became a word for common parlance. So I have a very specific question for the panel, and Hemant, I'd like to start with you. Today we're talking about innovation, and for me, one of the things that there's a constant question mark is that are we innovating sometimes when we don't need to? Like, what is a good sort of wireframe to think of innovation? Because it's a word that's thrown around so much, and it's like, वो जब suitcase में wheels लगे थे तो वो innovation थी. Now you had 4 wheels on a suitcase. But now if you're going to innovate the suitcase into becoming a hexagon around a circle, and it might not be that convenient. So that's my question, and anyone else in the panel is free to join in, but I'd like to start with him.
So that's one of the important words in the subject that we are discussing today. And I think it is important for young minds to distinguish between innovation and invention. So invention means when there is absolutely new, which in the parlance of the problem that is solving, that was non-existential at all. Innovation is something which is an incremental improvement, which is significant enough on what was already existing. Just to cite an example there, when the automobile was invented, the first car, that was an invention, that was a car. What Mr. Musk is doing now, in parlance of the auto, that is an innovation. That now, hey, it's not going to be ridden on the usual carbon-emitting fuels. It will not be petrol, it will not be diesel, it will not be CNG, it will be on electricity, which hopefully is derived through green resources. So that's, first of all, the need to establish what is innovation. Now, coming to the specific point, Anvi, that is it happening all the time?
I think what I want to ask is that what is the, let's say, a caveat that you would give to youngsters who are out there wanting to invent and innovate? What is the caveat that you would give them that, when you are innovating, keep these things in mind, because don't start doing new things for the sake of doing new things without... So what's the, let's say, a framework that you would give them?
So, first of all, that the need to innovate, that recognition is very important. And I will also pull it one step back actually. What is the opposite of good? Can somebody answer here? What's the opposite of good? Excellent, it's bad. What's the opposite of great? The opposite of great, what I would say is good. Because it's that good which makes you complacent. And it does not let you challenge the status quo. So if you want to innovate, you have to breach the usual day-to-day, the line of goodness. And I will relate to what my co-panelist said about people going to Vanvas. That transformation happens Because when you say, hey, this is not good enough, that fire in you comes out, the passion kindles that, and then you are not happy with what's around. And then your mind will start working, your thoughts, your all the action will start challenging, why is this like this? Hey, this is a bouquet of flowers, it has so many roses. Why cannot I put a sunflower inside that? Etc. etc. So it starts with your urge inside you, the drive inside you, which challenges why this, why cannot we do something differently. So yes, to sum it up, what I want you to say here, don't stay happy with the status quo. Good is actually worse than bad, and challenge what you see around and apply your creative mind and your problem solving skills, and then you are up for innovation.
Yeah, please, sir.
See, as I see innovation, it is doing things differently. Things are already being done. Can it be done a better way so that it can create more benefits for the people? So benefit to the others is very, very important in innovation. I'll give you an example. When I would go to an enforcement directorate, when I go to meet my people in Bombay or other places, many of them would have complained about the non-timely promotion. So when I decided that I will have an annual calendar, and the dates fixed, on this date will be the exam, on this date will the DPC will sit, and it was decided 1 year in advance, so that no person suffers. So two things only thing is innovation: doing things differently, thinking differently, and secondly, this thinking differently should be for the benefit of the people.
Correct. Is it contributing to a larger solution? Is it contributing to somebody's larger cause? Absolutely.
This is a subject which is very close to us as an organization. So what we did was we refreshed our values. So values are normally defined in every organization, as a framework within which each and every employee takes decisions. Yeah. So last year when we were refreshing this, and we applied bottoms-up approach. So normally people think that innovation will be done by, innovation is like inventing something. Yeah? So we defined that, keeping customer service at core. So anything and everything which you are doing in any part of your job, can you do it differently? It becomes an innovation for us. That's how we defined and simplified in our organization, because that serves our purpose in terms of keeping customer at core in whatever we do.
Sort of, you're in fire and safety and processes and bringing structure. How important has innovation been, and is innovation overabused, or is it something that everybody needs to get their thinking hats on and say कि भाई आपको creative approach life में लगानी पड़ेगी वरना आगे नहीं बढ़ोगे?
See, the word innovation and actually has been already defined, so I'll give you one simple phrase, and I believe I need your attention, guys. Thanks, and we'll love to have your attention here. See, there's one phrase which is always said in the sphere of, I'll say the skies of the innovation and invention. Something is called known unknown, and something is called unknown unknown. So what you do innovate is, you don't know something, but people know it. The ecology, the things are around it. You have to just discover it. Okay. The innovations are like when you invent something is unknown, and it's unknown even to you also. It's not even known to anybody. So when if I come from a professional background and the pharma background and all those, so innovation is important because people even doesn't know that what they require, but you have to make a product or a service for the people, because you can see what is going to happen after 5 to 7 years. And remember one thing, don't leave this innovation or inventions only on your R&D team. Anybody and everybody can do that. It's only you have to find the right trigger.
Yeah, true. I think you could be in your classroom and you figure out a way to keep electricity better used is, is innovation. You come up with a process or a system where you're saving bijli. Or I'm sure most of you innovate when you have to plan a party at short notice. There are a lot of innovations that happen in terms of खाना पीना कौन सॉर्ट कर रहा है, फ्रेंड्स को इन्फॉर्मेशन कैसे पहुंच रही है, बहुत इनोवेशन होता होगा. ऐसा मुझे लगता है हमारे टाइम पे तो बहुत ज़्यादा होता था क्योंकि मोबाइल फोन्स नहीं थे, तो हमें बहुत इनोवेटिव होना पड़ता था एक पार्टी शॉर्ट नोटिस में प्लान करने के लिए. I'm sure most people will agree that you need to know why you're innovating. So your question is just, you want to know the panel's opinion on how important is knowing why you're innovating rather than how or what you're innovating. Okay, panel, I'm sure it's a, it's a straightforward statement, but please, anyone who wants to hop in.
See, without why, you will not be able to do innovation. Why you are doing things. So you have to find out what is the social good it is going to serve. Without that, no innovation will be useful. That is very, very important. You are absolutely right. Producing something without its utility in the public will have no value.
In fact, the highest watched TED Talk in the world is one by a gentleman called Simon Sinek. He's an author, has written many books. He talks extensively about why, how, what. If you haven't seen it, I think it's an eye-opener for anyone who hasn't seen it. So definitely go search for it.
I'll quickly add to what my co-panelists said. See, sometimes when you are improving and making something, you, as a matter of practicality, you might not be aware what you have ended up making. So one of the eras of highest intensity and count of inventions and innovation was the World Wars, especially the World War II. What all got created during that time was not only the bombs, but in terms of engineering, if you go back, especially as students, you will see a lot of things are actually going back to that era. And not at all, of course, not trying to promote wars. I'm just saying, when the human will is behind something, a lot of things can happen within a relatively shorter period of time. So the penicillin as an innovation, or we can actually also call it an invention in the context where it was developed, the inventor didn't knew that what it could solve. The actual usage of that was understood later on. And there are a lot of other examples, even the telephone invention, the way it all happened. I guess you might have heard stories around that. So what I think Karanji is trying to say is then when you are a conscious path of innovation, then the sense of purpose is very, very important. And usually when general well-being is the reason behind making any innovation, the chances of success are also very high because in current context you also have a big market. As an entrepreneur or as a professional, you also want a good market for the problem you are solving.
So I want to bring, I think, one aspect or element of success or entrepreneurship or innovation. There are all young people here, and if you guys aren't sort of listening, then it'll be nice if you're not in the auditorium, and if you're in the auditorium, it'll be really nice if you can be part of the discussion. Because you'll be surprised at what you'll take away. है ना, ऐसा लग रहा है कि यहाँ पर कुछ ज्ञान बांटा जा रहा है और हम अपनी अटेंडेंस पूरी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कई बारी ऐसा बहुत सरप्राइजेस और कुछ एक लाइन शायद याद रह जाएगी जो कहीं जाके आप 10 साल बाद किसी स्टेज पे बोल रहे होगे कि मैं ना DTU के एक सेल में बैठा था ऑडिटोरियम में और पूरे टाइम मैं गप मार रहा था या गप मार रही थी, I wasn't really listening, but that one line, it changed the course. And I'm telling you this from experience. Any opportunity you get to learn, to listen, take it with open hands. I know we take it for granted in our 20s, but these are the things that are going to either shorten your journey to success or alternatively lengthen your journey to success. So, one of the things I feel relevant for the young people sitting here today, हमने बहुत सारे स्क्रिप्चर्स का नाम भी मेंशन किया शुरू में. रामायण महाभारत बहुत बच्चों ने देखी है. उपनिषद पुराण शायद जब तक उनका कोई वीडियो वर्जन नहीं बनेगा एक्सेस कम रहेगी. गीता के कुछ पार्ट क्योंकि बहुत सारे मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनिंग वीडियोस और टूल्स में आ गए हैं, सो आई एम श्योर अ लॉट ऑफ यंगस्टर्स हैव गॉट सम एक्सपोजर टू इट. बट वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट Hindu scriptures, but there are Jain scriptures, and there are certain sort of stories in Christianity, in Islam that talk about basic values as human beings, and I think those are timeless. So I want the panel to share maybe that one value system that you learnt growing up or you acquired it over the years through a book. But that one value system or an attitude or a soft skill that you acquired and you feel it is held you in good stead, और आप जब वो सब शेयर करोगे तो शायद यहाँ पर हमारे यंगस्टर्स को कुछ जेन्युइन टेक अवे मिलेगा. क्योंकि जब हम हाई लेवल बात कर रहे हैं तो इनको लग रहा है हाँ ठीक है, इनोवेशन करेंगे जब करेंगे, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप जब करेंगे तब करेंगे, लेकिन जो द टॉपिक दैट आई एम ब्रिंगिंग अप राइट नाउ is relevant to you today, because how you do one thing is how you will do everything.
एक चीज मैं मेंशन करना चाहूँगा मैम कि यहाँ बैठे हुए हर बच्चे को एक दिन लाइफ में ये महसूस होगा कि सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो पार्ट है वो शायद हेल्थ है. ठीक है, सारे जो भी असाइनमेंट्स, जो भी काम, जो भी ड्यूटीज आप कर लें, बट वन फाइन डे यू विल फाइंड कि हेल्थ इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट मतलब एलिमेंट ऑफ योर लाइफ और डिफाइनिंग. इसके लिए मैं जब मॉर्निंग में जब सेशन स्टार्ट हुआ था तभी मैंने रिक्वेस्ट किया था इसके लिए थोड़ी सी प्रैक्टिस करना चालू कर दो, क्योंकि ये एक लॉन्ग प्रोसेस है. इसमें मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि कितने बच्चे ऐसे हैं जो आज हाफ मैराथन पूरी कर सकते हैं, कोई हाथ उठाएंगे? ये तो बहुत ही बढ़िया एनकरेजिंग नंबर है और रियली इंस्पायरिंग. और मैं ये चाहूँगा कि ये जो नंबर है ये बढ़ना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये चीज़ें ना लाइफ में बाद में बहुत याद आएगी. और अगर आप देखो स्टीव जॉब का इंटरव्यू देखो और देखो तो कितनी भी अचीवमेंट और सक्सेस आप हासिल कर लें लाइफ में, अगर आप फिट नहीं हैं, हेल्दी नहीं हैं, तो एक पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम के बाद आपको ये फील होगा कि आपने बहुत कुछ मिस कर दिया. तो मेरा सभी से रिक्वेस्ट ये रहेगा कि 1 घंटा, आधा घंटा, 15 मिनट, जितना आपको टाइम सूटेबल लगे और जो चीज़ आपको अच्छी लगे उस पर आप अपनी एनर्जी और टाइम स्पेंड करें. और स्पेशली मैं यूनिवर्सिटी मैम से कहूँगा कि स्पोर्ट्स फैसिलिटी भी आप इम्प्रूव करें और खुद तो आप बहुत फिट हैं, सभी को मोटिवेट करें फिट रहने के लिए. थैंक यू.
In fact, I am one of these youngsters who in my 20s, because of genes or God's grace, I never put on weight. तो मैंने कभी एक्सरसाइज को सीरियसली लिया ही नहीं. हेल्थ 90s में कोई इतना बड़ा टॉपिक नहीं होता था, हम उस टाइम पे काम कर रहे थे. माई 20s मतलब misused, abused, most of 30s misused, abused, and suddenly one trainer had told me at the age of, I think I was 35 or 36, and he said, "मैम 40 के बाद ना भट्टा बोलेगा. जिस लाइन पे आप चल रहे हो 40 के बाद you suddenly tank." But उस time I was feeling fine, energy is good, but I never exercised. And he was right. After 40, it was suddenly my energy levels just went through the roof. I mean tanked, and I started falling sick randomly. मतलब 20s 30s में से कभी खांसी जुकाम भी नहीं हुआ, बुखार भी नहीं हुआ, और 40s के बाद हर तीसरे दिन कुछ हो रहा है. And I called the same guy, his name is Amit. And I said, भाई प्लीज आ जाओ कुछ ट्रेनिंग शुरू करें. So don't abuse it. I think Warren Buffett had done this interview. He said if you ever get only one car in your life, and that is the only car you will ever get, how will you take care of it? He said, you take care of it very nicely. He said, yeah, your body is that car. एक ही मिलेगी, you can't replace it. So yeah, I think very, very relevant value system to inculcate into your lives, which is to start focusing on your health, even if it's 15 minutes a day.
मैडम but you spoke about other religions. So let's take Jainism. Jainism, में there is a concept of Anekantvad. How many of you have heard about it? So only a few people. See, it says there is no absolute truth. There is a partial truth. I may be right in my way, you may be right in your way. So it gives a space for differences. You may have difference from other, but both may be right. So never think that other person, whatever is talking useless things. He may be right, you may be right. So what is the ground? You have to find out what is the ground on which both of us can understand the same thing in the same way. That is one. Now Islam, there is a concept called zakat. A percentage of your earning, it says you must compulsorily give for the welfare of the poor, for the welfare of the other. That is a very good concept for helping others. And if we take the Indian scripture, I should ask you to take the Gita's karma theory. Whatever you do, you are free to do, but with the repercussions. You will get result. You may get result instantly, you may get results 5 years later, you may get results 10 years later. It depends upon what work you are doing. Suppose you are sowing the seed of a tree, mango tree, you will get result after 5 years. You will not get result instantly. So it depends upon type of work. But Gita's karma theory is very, very powerful theory. It can help you in all steps. And if you take from Christians, do good, you will get good. If you are doing good for today, for somebody, somewhere somebody will start doing good for you. So these are the various, I just covered various religious books and some ideas you can take from them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to contribute?
So once again, in all the religions there is a concept of heaven and hell. Can anybody from the audience answer where do we get heaven? Future or any other? Any guesses? Where is heaven? Sorry? So many of us keep on dreaming that someday we will go to heaven. But in most of our religions, it's said that heaven is here and now, or whatever you want to create, it is here and now. So do whatever is required to be done, as if you were to go to heaven in some future. You can create it here. Yeah.
It's a very, very, very valid practice of making the most of what you have and living in the present. उसके आजकल बहुत fancy words हैं, mindfulness, presence, YouTube, Google पे ढूंढोगे बहुत चीजें मिलेंगी. But I think they all boil down to being here. Like if you're sitting in this auditorium, you're here. And when you're going out there with your friends, you're out with your friends. But it's a problem not just with young people, I think with old people also, that we're all here like this. That my body is here, my mind is there, my ear is here, and we're not in one place at any given point in time.
तन्वी, I wanted to add one thing. मतलब मैं शायद ये सोच रहा हूँ कि अगर मैं वहाँ पे होता तो मैं क्या सोचता. मैं इनकी लैंग्वेज अलग है, हम लोग की एक जनरेशन गैप है. तो मैं इनकी थोड़ी सी लैंग्वेज में बोलना चाहता हूँ कि साहब ने बोला हेल्दी बॉडी, फिर साहब ने बोला बहुत अच्छे हमारे पास स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, SOPs हैं, मतलब सारे जो ग्रंथ हैं, चाहे वो गीता हो, कुरान हो, चाहे वो सब स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स हैं. इफ आई टेल यू इन दिस टेक्निकल टर्म्स, यू ऑल आर इंजीनियर्स, सो यू विल अंडरस्टैंड दिस. कुछ स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स बहुत साल पहले बने, वो रखे हुए हैं. आप वो सर्वर में, क्लाउड में, इनफैक्ट आई से वो क्लाउड में आप यहाँ पे हो इंडिविजुअल, जो वरुण बफेट ने कहा कि आप एक कार हो, तो आप एक छोटे से लैपटॉप हो, आप उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं। आपके लैपटॉप और आपके क्लाउड के बीच में से आपको वो कंटेंट डाउनलोड करना है और उसको कहाँ स्टोर करना है? अपने बॉडी में, यानी अपने ब्रेन में। डाउनलोड करोगे कि नहीं? कहीं से तो लाना ही पड़ेगा ना ये ज्ञान। सो अंटिल यू विल नॉट हैव हेल्दी माइंडसेट, mind, you have got a very good body, you've got a fantastic SOPs. If you will not have a healthy brain, you will not able to achieve your dreams. क्योंकि एक अच्छा समझदार हृष्ट-पुष्ट आदमी भी गलत दिमाग से बहुत गलत काम कर सकता है। इंफॉर्मेशन पूरी है आपके पास इस दुनिया में। यूज मतलब शायद तन्वी, हम लोग उस जमाने में थे कि जब हम लोग को कॉलेज में जाना होता था, वी वर नॉट प्रिविलेज्ड ऑफ गूगल बाबा। हमें जो कुछ पढ़ना होता था सर, हम लोग या तो गुरु के पास जाते थे या लाइब्रेरी में जाते थे, यही दो ठौर होते थे मतलब हमारे। अब गूगल बाबा, तो मैं आप लोग को बहुत अच्छा कहता हूँ, यू हैव गॉट ऑन फिंगर टिप्स, यू गॉट ऑल इंफॉर्मेशन। शायद हमारी लाइब्रेरी में वो इंफॉर्मेशन वही होती थी जो हमें डाउनलोड करने को दी जाती थी, बट आज आपके पास यूज भी कर सकते हो, मिसयूज भी कर सकते हो, अच्छे इंफॉर्मेशन भी है, गलत इंफॉर्मेशन में भी है। सो मेरा एक रिक्वेस्ट यही है, व्हेन यू आर डाउनलोडिंग समथिंग, डाउनलोड विद कॉशन। आपके पास पूरी पॉसिबिलिटी है कि आप गलत रिश्ते तरफ भी जा सकते हो, बट आप वही डाउनलोड करो जो आपका लैपटॉप एक्सेप्ट कर सकता है। थैंक यू।
I think the panel has added very relevant points. Focus on your health, and what Saurabh said, he's made a very important differentiation between your physical health and your mental health. And connecting to the other element of this discussion, are scriptures very clearly defined through yoga practices, how you can benefit on both the fronts. So personally I started to do a couple of new kind of yogas in the morning, and I can feel a tangible difference in my level of awareness. See, when you have to do something, your first step is to perceive what's the current situation, then you make a plan to how to do something better for it, and then you go to execution. But if your first step is not solid enough, if you are not able to perceive things well, your subsequent, of course, will have a negative domino effect. So there are very specific yogasanas and more things, how you can actually take very good care of your mental health as well as your physical health. That's all.
Thank you so much. I have a very strange question. Anyone who has a question in the audience? Okay, there's a young kid at the back. Yeah, that's you. आप ही से पूछ रही हूँ, काली टी शर्ट में, आ जाओ, खड़े हो जाओ। हाँ बिल्कुल। While the mic reaches him, how many of you wake up before 6 o'clock? Okay, I'm going to share a funny anecdote after this, and I'll tell you why I asked.
A question for Hemant. You said about innovation. What promoted you to start Hulu? And part B of the question is, COVID came, and I guess Hulu just stopped operations for a period of time. So how did you navigate it through that?
Very important question of this personal journey. So Hulu as an idea was finalized by my co-founder Amit, who's also the CEO. He used to travel for work, especially to China, where this huge revolution with bicycles had already started. And yes, we were in a way pioneers to bring bicycles and then this electric small form factor in India. So that in brief is the story. And I will also connect with what Karan sir had also said earlier. There is a very strong sense of purpose. The vision is to actually solve a problem of pollution, of congestion, We headquartered in Bangalore, so the traffic problem in Bangalore is not hidden secret, etc., etc. So yes, when you see your product solving problem for a common man, it really gives you that extra energy which kindles your sense of passion. Short answer to the COVID time, yes, we started our business for people mobility, so people would pick up a Hulu from one place and drop it to another Hulu zone elsewhere. But because mobility came to an absolute screeching halt, we were not able to generate revenue. But that's a sign of a good leadership and a good team, not only leadership but a good team. We realized that what was still moving around were goods, necessary items. People were allowed to go and buy groceries, and the grocery shop walas, they were delivering food items at homes and the necessary items. The medicines were still being applied. So we started to rent out our bikes to those businesses, and what it led to us was an amazing discovery that this huge food delivery and delivery ecosystem, which is on Zomato and Swiggy, 80% of people the gig workers who want to deliver on those platforms like Zomato and Swiggy, they did not have a driving license. Neither they did have the resources to buy a two-wheeler by themselves to go and deliver those products. There was a ratio of 1:4. So 80% of those gig workers who wanted to deliver and get employed, make money on these platforms, were not able to do that because they did not have scooters and neither did they have a driving license. We were coincidentally in that sweet spot that our product, because it is limited to 25 kilometers per hour, by law does not require a driving license. And that sort of became a huge spiral effect. And in Bangalore right now, because the highest amount of asset we have is in Bangalore, more than 7,000 bikes, roughly 60% plus deliveries at homes are right now happening on Hulu. And that's exactly the plan we have also in NCR in Delhi. So in the coming few months, you will see tens of thousands of Hulus coming in, both for people mobility and for goods mobility.
So just a quick question, Hemant, since you brought up, the bikes. Internationally, in the Middle East, Kareem is big in Pakistan, and they went from cars to bicycles. Do you guys have plans to go from bicycles to cars?
No, absolutely not. We are very clear that we will remain a two-wheeler focused company because this American system of everybody sitting in one car and every family having as many cars, as many adults who have a driving license, this is not sustainable. This is against what our ethos and what our scriptures very clearly mention. Yes, there is a time when a society goes through that. We need a car, with one car in a family is fine. But for day-to-day mobility, the amazing metro system you have in Delhi, it's a shining star in Indian this thing. It's a profitable entity at a very reasonable rate, so very well maintained. So companies like you, I hope more startups come and nurture the ecosystem. You start the mobility at your home, you drop that thing at the metro station, you take the metro station, on the last mile, you repeat the same stuff. If you want to taxi, you share that. So I think we are entering an interesting era. We are at least I am personally absolutely anti-car. Yes, I have a car, but I use it when I really need it.
You also spent 10 years in Amsterdam, which is the cycle capital of the world, and very comfortable in that. India still has a long way to go in terms of infrastructure from a bicycling point of view, but yes, startups like yours will help to encourage. I would love to take a cycle. How many of you would like to use a bicycle if there were, clean pathways and easy to go, easy to park? Yeah, see, you've got an audience right there. So I think the youngsters today are probably more attuned with what is good for the environment, what is good for us. Hey guys, Mr. Katyal has to leave. I know you wanted an announcement to make before you leave, or you have 10? You have 10 minutes? Oh, okay, perfect. So, just, last thoughts, anyone? What we've spoken about so far is जो आप बीज बोगे वही पेड़ निकलेगा, मतलब नेट सार इस पूरी कॉन्वर्सेशन का वही था. आम का बीज लगाओगे तो आम का पेड़ निकलेगा, अगर नींबू का बीज लगाया तो आम नहीं मिलेंगे, नींबू ही मिलेंगे. So essentially what you sow is what you are going to reap. I know that phrase is overused and abused, but if you understand what it means, I think everything that was shared on the panel will make sense. Just want to leave with one thought, guys, and this is from, sorry, there's another hand, anyone else? Yeah, please. Your name, but from the diaphragm.
So the question is, sir, as you mentioned, you are in a multinational company. So the ideas of Bhagavad Gita and all those things that you have just said, so how is this relevant in the global, like we all are aiming for some global or multinational companies and all those things. So how is the idea of a 5,000-year-old book that has been said is relevant in today's world in a multinational domain, like from a person that is born in Britain or a person from different parts of the world, how are they able to connect with the ideas of the Indian origin? So how is that possible? That's the question.
So from young Mr. Srivastava to also young Mr. Srivastava. No, also young Mr.
You
Srivastava.
wanted to say old. I go with
I remember what you started the conversation with.
Chetan, good question. And to be very honest, when we say this is what we have written in Mahabharata, Ramayana, Gita. Again, I will term them as and please forgive me if I hurt anybody's sentiment. I'll call them as a standard operating procedure. Okay. And आप किसी भी religion में चले जाओ, आप कहीं पे भी चले जाओ, they remain same. Because पिछले एक सवा घंटे से what we were talking is the just and probably a minute back then we said the same thing. आप जो बोलोगे वही आएगा. So in the boardroom or in the C-suits, गीता ज्ञान नहीं डिस्कस होती है, या रामायण का वो अध्याय में क्या लिखा था, या हनुमान जी के नाम लेके हम नहीं कोई काम स्टार्ट करते हैं. But we keep our vision very very clear. You have a vision. You have a purpose, and then you've got a mission, okay? And then how do you correlate with this? कहीं ना कहीं आपने वो बचपन में स्टोरीज पढ़ी होती है, जैसा सर ने बताया, वो आपको जब डिसीजन लेना होता है, that helps you to take right decisions always. I hope I'm clear.
I think even if you read a lot of management books and self-help books, today the Eastern philosophies are being so widely accepted in the West that you will not struggle to, explain a certain thought, because there is an increasing awareness coming from the East and the scriptures of the East. And a lot of them have already been written into books in English, which are pure management books or, self-help books.
See, the value system is never old. Ideas are never old. They may be 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. If you read, for example, Rig Veda. Now Rig Veda talks about...
There is Chanakya Niti is used in business. It's used as, and so many of the principles apply to politics and to business. So I think the principles and value systems and certain strategies are still relevant. And not still, I think they will continue to be relevant for the next 10,000 years as long as we can pass them on as stories and books and have some capsules in case of some, annihilation moment that is predicted for the earth. But yeah, I think our scriptures are valid and relevant. I'm going to wrap up the panel discussion with just one takeaway for you guys, which is that anything that you want to achieve in life, and this is my takeaway from today's discussion, is that you have to focus more on what you're doing and what you're thinking, and what is the attitude and discipline you are inculcating, because eventually what you create is a result of that. So if you want to grow, innovate, succeed in life, look inward first. बाहर की चीजें धीरे धीरे they'll fall in place, and like Shah Rukh Khan said very eloquently, जब आप शिद्दत से कुछ चाहते हो तो पूरी कायनात, you know, you all know the dialogue. So thank you all so much to the panel. It was lovely talking to you, and thank you for being